quite a high-level discussion. Now we would like to bring a few additional pieces to this overall puzzle. And for that purpose, I would like to welcome our two new guests and three new guests. Bernard Gendros from Enable, so from my own team, who's chairman from Sentinel Committees, Smart City, Smart Green, and so on. We will tell much more on this later. I have Raymond Denuta from Tartu City, with minor experience as well. And then, of course, our dearest Ola Skaska from Funding Box, which is a company specializing in European projects and funding, so a good colleague of mine. Colleagues, welcome. I would say maybe a quick tour tap to understand a bit better who you are, what you do in practice. That would be welcome. And then, of course, we will go on with presentations, because we all love presentations, of course, and some discussion. Maybe Bernard, for that session, I will invite you to come to the table, because you've been running around all day.
Okay, thank you, Pierre. So, very quickly to introduce myself, I'm working with Pierre, we are partners in the Enable company. I'm mainly sharing a lot of these transition activities for SEN and SENELEC, especially on energy efficiency, energy management, energy transition, also on smart and sustainable cities and communities, on hydrogen, in energy systems, but also a board member of the co-design resource efficiency and circular economy. So that's part of my DNA for a few decades already. Start to have some gray hair, but okay. And I'm doing the same at ISO level also for the smart cities, but also for the energy. So very quickly said, working hard with the Commission on as an expert for adaptation to climate change, but also for co-design energy labeling, and actually leading a team in Serbia to support circular entry, maybe in 2025 in the European Union, so changing the legislation.
Breathing circular, dreaming circular. Now getting out of Finland to go to Estonia.
Yeah, we are not getting too far from Finland, so we are heading to Estonia. Good afternoon, my name is Raimond. I'm working as a deputy mayor for the city of Tartu. And actually my everyday topics are related to the green development. I'm responsible for climate issues, for energy issues in our city, and also entrepreneurship. So that's basically my main responsibilities. So I'm also responsible for the communal services as overall in the city. So and Tartu is a lovely city. I will speak a little bit more about it.
Okay, so quite close to business for policymaker. Ola?
And now I take everybody to Dublin, Ireland. So good afternoon, good evening. Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So my name is Ola and I work for Funding Box. Just to give you a brief idea what we did, we hired recently a branding specialist, and after a few months and quite decent budget, they said, well, it's a growth catalyst, so go figure. Well done. What we actually did, we facilitate growth for startups, for SMEs, for scale-ups. We use public funding for that purpose. We make sure that people learn new things. We run acceleration programs. We equip them with private funding opportunities on the way. So in general, we actually make them grow. Very interesting job, to be honest. Every day is different.
A growth engine then. I believe Ola, you will present us C-voucher, as far as I understand. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, sorry.
Just saying, here in Finland is
Peter. So I was very close. Yeah, I didn't mention before that I'm a program manager responsible for a few things to run, we execute. C-voucher is one of them. That's the project funded courtesy of the European Commission, so we're very grateful for this and for the opportunity. C-voucher is ongoing. I will tell you briefly how we do things, why it's important for people in this room, and what the next steps for us are. I dare to say C-voucher is the first pan-European acceleration program with a very particular focus on circular economy. We were submitting this proposal a few years back, and it was, of course, a trendy topic back in 2018. It continues to grow. and we continue to have more and more participants all over. We have a very nice budget of over 4 million euros. So this is the money that goes directly to SMEs. That's an InnoSub 1 type of a project. So we're providing acceleration, and that I mean we give out grants, and we provide knowledge experts, coaching, mentoring, whatever is important for our participants. How are we doing that? Well, obviously there is a great team behind every success. So I'm very happy to work with very dedicated, very experienced partners. We have clusters in our consortium, we have regions, and without them it wouldn't work at all. We have industry leaders, so we bring all these angles together in order to see how to transform value chains from linear to circular ones. And what's really cool about this project is that we have 34 clusters linked to the consortium, to the partners. So I think it's stopped. Can you switch the slide? Oh yeah. Now that's the moment. 34 clusters are our linked partners, which means that our outreach is enormous at the end of the day. So C-Voucher works within 4 different acceleration programs. Our perspective on industries is pretty wide. We start with manufacturing, go through textile to agri-food, maritime, or blue growth, if you may, and health. So what we do here is we're trying to pinpoint which SMEs are really in need of circular transformation, and we provide design services for them. We give them mentoring in business modeling. We give them money to buy new technologies, and we let them go and grow once they are done. And of course, the clusters are very important in this aspect. They allow us look into particular industries, see what's not working, see what's the pain, and how to fix it later on. So that was kind of our initial idea, how the clusters could be beneficial for C-Voucher, and that's why we have such a huge network of these entities behind us. So we wanted to ask clusters all around Europe, and we did that. We wanted them to help us identify what's not working in manufacturing, textile, whatever industry we prioritized. And clusters were very happy. They have a major insight into regional business scene. Obviously, we wanted clusters to help us disseminate, and that's pretty straightforward relation. And then our clusters also were helping the SMEs at the end of the day to work with us to submit the application to make this process possible. So what happened later, and I think we're stuck again. I just want to address 2 lessons learned and 2 particular examples that I'm very happy with. One of them is coming from Denmark and the other one from Romania. So Danish cluster with my Danish partner, Dejle Kommune, we're working initially on the process of identification of challenges. And this actually worked as a two-way street. We as a project provided the cluster with methodology, how to identify particular painful areas in a very organized way. We use, of course, Ellen MacArthur's Foundation circular flows tables. We use major references. Then we put some unique perspective of C-Voucher partners on it, and the cluster is actually using this methodology throughout till now. The other way around, they gave us amazing data and perspective, and they told us about major challenges. We've learned so much from them. And the cooperation didn't stop here. They started building different initiatives while talking to their SMEs. They started building connections even stronger than before. So that was an actual proof of concept that it could work. And the Romanian case, on the other hand, showing that clusters can facilitate the entire process of funding. As the Romanian cluster, by disseminating the open call, encouraged one of the SMEs to apply, and then they helped with the application process. They were brainstorming a lot together, made a really good team on the way. And now the Romanian company is within the acceleration program, so everyone's happy at the end of the day. That's a win-win. So it shows that clusters actually can support funding, not in the direct way though. So what we've learned, we would meet the next one. These are the areas that we discovered as a project so far, and I just wanted to share it with you, as I believe this room could be our potential network of cooperants for the future. So circular awareness, the case of Danish cluster, and many others, to be honest, within the 34 that we have, that's something that's absolutely priceless. So that's, we've seen it times and times again, all the workshops, the info days, direct one-on-one meetings with companies. I'm sure you all know that circular economy as a term is pretty tricky and confusing to many. If you start evangelizing, it all becomes crystal clear. Access to funding, as I showed you with the Romanian case, absolutely possible. It's just about identifying who's got the funding and then spreading the message a little bit further. And then the connections, the network. In our case, SMEs applying, we are not looking at them as singular entities. We're looking at value chains. So in many occasions, the SME applying is saying, all right, that's my business partner here and there. And there is an entire map of connections. So clusters are often very much involved into this aspect as well. Can we have the next one? Yeah. So just to, I want to keep it short and sweet. I know we're all waiting for the cocktails. Our next steps as C-Voucher is still, it's going to end in 12 months. So a few things I wanted to pinpoint here that might be interesting for you. First of all, there is an open call coming later this year. If you're a cluster manager, if you're an SME, if you're a regional authority, that could be a great starting point on this journey for identifying funding. So we're talking August 2020, that's our last call, and then last acceleration program will follow. So at least you could have a sample how it works. Then something that I'm in particular looking forward to, we called it Toolkit for Regions, and that's going to be an outcome really of C-Voucher. We hope that after us there is some kind of, legacy. That's a huge word, of course. We're trying to build an actual map or a guide that could let everyone know how to build acceleration around circular economy, how to facilitate the transformation process from linear to circular business concept, how to work with SMEs really. Where do you start? Why do you need designers? Who are the coaches that you might need on the way? How do you choose the SMEs you want to work with? So I'm hoping it's going to be a very practical and very useful publication. Well, obviously we produce lots of different reports and data on a daily basis, so if you're interested, please join our community. However, this will be especially, cherry on top, I hope. Can we have the next one, please? If you'd like to talk, very happy to. I'm always very open to all connections, around Europe. We are supporting companies all over the place. We have a few locations online. We have a community. We're trying to build a sustainable element of C-Voucher so that our participants, the fans of circular economy as such, they just stay together online, and we see them connecting, we see them building new initiatives together. So it is possible. So please visit us at some point. I think on the next slide there is my email address. If you would be willing to share what you do, and let's see if we can cooperate somehow, that would be great. I'm very looking forward towards the continuation of C-Voucher. We have a few ideas, so looking forward to talking to you later. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Sustainability, one of the key challenges for European projects. Make sure that we don't have a one shot and then it's closed. And what happens next? So, call for collaboration. Well, super interesting, great project. Can you tell us more about the voucher as such? How much, for what kind of activities? And especially, we receive a lot of good feedback about voucher schemes and cascade funding as such. Can you explain to us why it is so loved and appreciated, and especially by clusters?
Well, cascade funding, to everyone who's not familiar, that's the European Commission, and I will work on my branding now, funding box, and the startup community. However, the cascade, the middle section, could be obviously a different party. So cascade is a simplified process. So we're trying to make the application procedure not only transparent and fair, but also intuitional in as much as we can. So we do the process online, we ask only basic information. We try to grasp the idea of the project, first of all, and then there's a pitching competition, lots of fun. So we're kind of demystifying the procedure of applying for the European funds that for many, I believe, could be related to lots of bureaucracy. So we're trying to keep things simple. And Cascade is a great way for the SMEs to try out how to work with European money, really. So in this particular case, in C-Voucher, we're talking about in between 15,150 to 60,000 euros voucher, which is actual cash. On top of that, we're talking about all the mentoring services. So it's a monetary and non-monetary support. The overall value is up to 150,000 euros. So, you know, a great chance, especially that some of the acceleration programs are only about business modeling. If you're not ready with the execution, just sketch it out, the designer will help you. If you're ready, there is a different model we offer, and then we say, okay, if you're there, buy the technology, implement it, play with it, again the designer will help you, and at the end of the day, hopefully you change something for longer. That's our point.
So it's really a trigger, right? Get projects to maturation and then help them access the next level, the next phase.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So we'll be sure to monitor the progress of the project.
You're more than welcome.
And you're more than welcome to join the cocktail as well. To network and find new collaborators. Raymond, I think that we've talked a lot about the EU level. We spoke a lot about the regional level as well. But Tero was feeling alone as a mayor on stage. And I think it would be interesting to see a bit from a mayor perspective how you approach the circularity challenge.
Yeah, sure. Once again, good afternoon to everybody. Hope you're not too tired yet. So, once again, warm greetings from the city of Tartu. I'm not exactly speaking about the green cluster, and for the full day I have been thinking here about green clustering and about why green clustering is not so well developed in Estonia. And at least in our region, I understood that maybe we are not too industrialized to have the green clusters working, let's say, as they are working here in Finland, for example. But I believe that we still have a lot to learn from other clusters also, and the smart city cluster I'm speaking about right now, it's one of the best experiences regarding our city collaboration with different private sector partners. So let's continue. I hope the remote is, or you will exchange it, yes. Just a few words about the city of Tartu. We are the second largest city in Estonia. We are a traditional university city. It was established, University of Tartu was established in 1632, so it's quite a long time ago, and it was established by the King of Sweden. So our warm greetings to Sweden also for this great step. And we have rather young population. We have half of our inhabitants which are less than 35 years old. That's probably because of the university city. And we also have a huge number of students, like 18,000 students. If we are speaking about the city is 100,000 people, 18,000 students is quite a lot. We are, of course, well developed in case of electronic services, in case of access to internet, etc. That's why Estonia is well known also. And Tartu is, of course, traditionally a research and education center for not only for Estonia but for the Baltics. So one of the key strengths in the city is the city environment, is the living environment, and that's why we are continuously fighting with different issues that are trying to push our city not so green direction but the other directions. And we are trying to stand for the green city. It has been one of our key strengths. That's why also my position is covering different climate issues, different city environment issues. And I'm every day working to keep our city as clean as possible. Also, of course, we have different circular economy samples from the city. But today I'm not going to speak about that. I'm speaking about our Smart City Lab cluster. So let's continue. So in my opinion, what is the main challenge for the small and medium-sized cities? That's actually the limited in-house human and financial resources. That's probably not the big surprise for many of you, but that's actually something that is keeping us back when we are trying to develop the city as fast as possible. And that's why it's also so much important to co-create and have external partners involved from different other sectors. I'm not only speaking about private sector, but I'm also speaking about academia. I'm speaking about different educational institutions and research centers, and also about the collaboration between different municipalities. It's quite hard to handle it because we are still in competition, at least municipalities feel they are in competition, but it's probably the best way to do something together compared to competing. Let's continue. So I strongly believe if you would like to develop something fast, it's better if you do it alone, and if you are trying to really create solutions in long term and to have really like continuous development of the city, then the ecosystem is working actually the best. And if you're taking the strengths of different sectors like data from the governmental side, if you're taking the skills and competencies from the private sector side, also the innovation culture from the academia, and also if you're involving citizens, then you are having the best ecosystem you can imagine, and then the developments are also happening quite fast. So Smart City Lab Cluster, it's actually a cluster initiative and a cooperation platform for smart solutions. So it has, in case of mission, two different aims. It has the aim to provide developments for the cities, for the municipalities, but at the same time to accelerate the private sector export, for example. And that's actually the mission has been also included in the everyday activities. I confirm that basically the everyday activities have been following the initial aim of the cluster. So let's continue. So we have 28 members in the cluster, a few universities, a few cities, mainly private sector companies. They are both from the startup sector, because startups is all about innovation, but also more like mature and developed companies. So we have really a variety of different players in the cluster. And if you take this next slide, then you will see that also the city, it's kind of reading slide. I didn't intend to have it, but our moderator was telling that you need to have 13 slides and not more. So I had to put it all here on one slide. And you can see that we have 10 different partners in the consortium, in the Smart City Lab, which we have directly had the projects with. So we have private sector partners, different companies. Maybe some are well known for the Finnish people also here, like maybe Redango or CGI. I hope they are well known. And we have some smaller companies from Estonia. But the projects are covering different fields. It's mainly transportation, but not only. And transportation is actually one of our key sectors also if we are speaking about sustainability in the long term. So let's continue. So that's how the model actually works. So we are describing the bottlenecks first. It's not that the public sector is speaking out only, that we have this kind of bottlenecks. It might be that the private sector is also pointing that you have this kind of bottlenecks. And it's also possible that we have like discussions, we are gathering in the same room, and then we are discussing about the bottlenecks. Then also together with the companies we are finding out ideas how to overcome those challenges, how to actually get rid of those bottlenecks. Then we are continuing with the prototyping, and what has been really like exceptional in our cluster is the Lean Lab. It basically means that we at least we used to have 500 people in the city which were testing the prototypes first and then giving feedback how it works. So it's always good to cooperate with the citizens, the new services. And quite often Tartu has been the first customer for the companies, but it's not necessary that it's like that. It might be any other city also, because some services are more like suitable for the city, for Tartu, but some services are suitable for the larger cities. So it might be so and so. But the final aim is to actually go global with the products, with the smart city products. And main topics that we have been discussing are related to transportation, intelligent transportation, also energy efficiency, healthcare, and governmental governance. So let's continue. And besides having different projects with different partners of the cluster, we are also having projects with cluster as institution. And we have actually had different researches and different like studies which are not only for the city of Tartu, but which are useful for a wider range of municipalities. For example, if you are speaking about mapping and rearranging of public services which are provided in Tartu, actually the research material is also useful for other municipalities. It's not exactly only for the city of Tartu. And if you're speaking for the about the public transportation network, which is data-based, then also the methodology was worked out during this project, and it's not useful only for the city of Tartu, but other municipalities also. Okay, let's continue. So, and just a little bit more briefly about this project, which is related to bus line network in our city. So, as you know, data is gaining more and more importance, and also our city is gathering more and more data. We actually, together with two companies, Positium from Tartu and WSP from Finland, I hope it's quite a well-known company here in Finland. They have a lot of experiences in transportation modeling, and we were so glad they were involved. So we had actually more than 25 data sets which were used, and the public transportation network was developed based on the data. One of the most valuable data sets was actually the mobile positioning data. It basically means that, of course, it was anonymous, and the mobile phone movements in the city were followed, so we had exact understanding how people are actually moving. Not that we are giving the guess how people are moving, but we have exact overview how people are moving in the city. Then also, of course, we have ticket validation data, etc., different demographic data. So it was a huge bunch of data sets. And now they have the methodology, how it could be worked out, and they are glad to share it, of course, with other municipalities. So let's continue. And I'm also bringing an example that failures are also okay. For example, we had a startup which was willing to work out first hands-free ticketing system for public transportation. It basically means that it was working with Bluetooth. If you have your mobile phone in your pocket and entering the bus, it's paying automatically, so you don't have to take out the mobile phone or do anything. So it's basically fully automatic. But finally, it was a failure, and it was a failure because of Android mobile phones. It was perfectly working with iOS, with iPhones, but some models of Android phones are switching off Bluetooth automatically, and that's why this service was not possible, because it was working like 93% cases, but still they had cases when it was not working. And as soon as we do not have those standardizations in the mobile phones, that the Bluetooth is kept in, it's not possible to implement it. But failures are okay, and we truly appreciate if companies are trying to do something and learn from the process and fail at the end of the day. So, next one. Yep. And my own opinion about clustering, it's not always important to create clusters. You might create those consortiums also around different activities of different projects. For example, two examples here from our city. So we have a Smart City project, which is co-financed from the Horizon 2020 program also. It's under the initiative Smart Cities and Communities. And we have involved different private sector companies in the consortium. And I truly believe that it has many similarities to clustering, and this kind of collaborations should be also like one of the choices which we have on our table. We have Telia, we have Fortum, which are well-known companies in the Nordic also, etc. And the other one is about getting robots on the streets. So we have, again, different well-known and strong companies on board. We have Milrem, which is so far mainly known by the military robots, but now they are coming to the everyday life of people also. And Clevern, which is known for the packaging machines, but now they are coming with robots which are delivering small deliveries in the city, so etc. So it's possible to create consortiums or something like clusters also based on projects or different activities. And it's not actually important how you are getting different sectors behind the same table, but you should get them behind the same table. And that's basically all from my side, yes? Thank you for the attention.
And that's interesting to see how you reconcile digital with circular, because very often people are afraid of the CO2 emission from data centers, but we know Estonia, for example, in our line of business, is working a lot on blockchain technology. And blockchain, if you take bitcoins, is 2% of worldwide CO2 emissions, but of course, if you take other technologies in blockchain, which are called DLTs, then you may end up with 0 to nearly 0 CO2 emissions. So I think putting digital back into perspective is quite interesting.
What I strongly believe also is that basically all the clusters, doesn't matter in which sector, are facing the sustainability issues nowadays. So whether it's green cluster or it's, I don't know, wooden building cluster in Estonia, they are all facing the sustainability issues, and they are facing the circular economy challenges and etc.
And this is a strong point as well. We've seen in different countries this disease of creating clusters, but it has to make sense. So I think that's a strong point. Just a quick question, and then I will invite Bernard to come back to the stage with his own presentation. You said that it was a fight for sustainability to make it a priority at the city level. And we know from the Kemi experience that this is, you need a vision. You need a vision, you need sustainable leadership there. Why has it been a fight in your case? What are you fighting against?
Yeah, so actually, as I told, Tartu is really well known for the living environment, and people are really appreciating the living environment, the green living environment we have right now. We have recently had some pushing to have a new industry present nearby the city, and we have been strongly fighting to keep it away from the city border. And that's basically because of the people, our inhabitants, who have told us that we don't need to smell something 20 days a year, or we don't need to have our river water polluted, or whatever. So that's something I'm speaking about.
You also mentioned academia. I think it's a component that we didn't touch so much upon, but we will get back to this most likely in a few minutes. But before that, the last piece of the puzzle, which is standardization. Mr. Jean Rose, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't want to be too long because I don't want also to educate you. It's about standardization. That's a very complex issue. However, I would like to give you an idea of the opportunity as a standard could definitely be a booster for innovation to market. And that's what we're trying to do. Yes, please. Okay, so what is very interesting, especially in Europe, that's our model. When we have European standards, it means all the member states, plus a few other countries, in fact 34 countries, will have to have in their catalog of standards the same standards. If you have some national conflicting standards, you have to withdraw these standards. So it paved the way for a kind of harmonization of references, and that is because it is a good support to the implementation of legislation and regulation, but also paving the way to access to a very big market of 600 million inhabitants, which is something extremely important. So standards is not only defining a rule-specific thickness of tube for pressure vessels, etc., but also a very good way to harmonize, to have people speaking the same language, and to have some common elements of references. So, what are the main benefits? And that's also something related to what we discussed today about the circular economy. The standards are shaped by groups who contribute. So as soon as you have an idea or something that could also support you in developing a market or to support you in becoming key players in the market, you can start to design some standards. Keeping in mind that standards usually is a solution or partial solution to some repetitive issues. Could be technical, economical, societal issues, and standards will bring some answer or pave the way for having some systematic understanding and systematic approach. It is already just the previous one. So it's an open and transparent process. That's also why we create trust and confidence with standards and market driven, as I said before. And it's a reach to consensus among a wide range of different stakeholders categories, which makes something very interesting from, let's say, technical industry companies to NGOs and consumers, but also policymakers and many of the different stakeholders that are all member or active stakeholders on the complete value chain. Just to give you an example, in technical committee where standards are built up, we have first members from the different national standardization bodies. We have some partners, there is a list of partners, many NGOs, professional federations, consumer associations also. We have the international representation, ISO, IEC mainly. We have some affiliate partners, standardization bodies. We have, for instance, Group Standards, the Russian one, are also have some specific relation with us. We have some US, Canada, and also other part of the world. We have some liaison officers from the different technical committees. We have the European Commission and EFTA countries representation in our different world. And of course, we try to, even if these people have no vote in the final document, they can bring a lot of inputs, and most of the time I can tell you these inputs are considered. Just how standards bring benefits for research and innovation. I have one of the pictures here. You can see on the drawing on the right that at any level standards could definitely bring some benefits, especially by creating terms and definitions that are common to all. We are speaking the same language. We can fight during years or decades as long as we are not considering the word or a term with the same meaning. And that's something extremely crucial, I guess, before starting developing things. Also about measurements, about testing, we need to have some standardized approach if we want to compare things. If we want to benchmark, also if we want to propose some guidance that will help having access to markets throughout Europe. That's very essential. So I will just give you a small movie that has been produced very recently, I think just a few weeks ago. Full screen, maybe, yeah.
We live in an age of great research and innovation. We value new ideas and competition, but shared knowledge and common goals are just as important. Research and innovation need standards. Think of all the ways we have transformed our world with tools, language, money, international trade, the internet. If we hadn't agreed on certain key things, none of these would have succeeded. And that's what standards are, agreements. Standards are debated by committees of stakeholders in which everybody has an equal voice. Manufacturers, users, researchers, governments, collaborators, and competitors alike. Anything can benefit from standardization, whether it's a service, a process, or a product. For example, to ensure the quality and safety, or to maximize compatibility, or to ensure everybody measures the same thing in the same way. Neutral entities called standards bodies all over the world facilitate this process. They make sure the main stakeholders are invited to the table, that consensus is reached in a transparent way, that standards conform to the appropriate laws, that only one validated standard exists, and finally, they draft and publish the standards. So why be part of this? Because being part of a community of experts who all agree to speak the same language really accelerates innovation. Because when you're pioneering a new field, whoever sets the standard sets the trend. Because knowledge transfers in all directions when research findings are published via standards. And because when everything syncs up, things just flow better. Time to market goes down, consumer trust goes up. Standards power progress.
Okay, that's very short, but I guess it gives you a clear idea of how it can benefit for the innovation and contribute to what we are doing. So back to what we have seen, just my two last slides. If we really want to pave the way to making Europe leading this circular economy, industrial
I think in
circular
general it's
economy
important
transition.
for future research and aid.
Thank you. Yes, definitely standards could help in that sense. Also, boost replication. If we have a scheme that has been based on the results from pilot to demo project, we can scale up using the same type of approach. We can replicate, we can deploy on a larger scale. It ensures, as said also here, a fair and sustainable partnership. There is a need when we are developing some circular economy approach, for instance, cross-sectorial approaches. There is a need to ensure that all the partners will play the role till the end. And especially, I remember when I started to launch in one of the regions in France, in Corsica, to be precise, the circular economy 20 years ago, people said, okay, we have some waste. It will be good if you can use these waste in your process. And the guy said, well, okay, fine, but then if I need to change my process, because I would like to include this type of waste as resources, it's good. But could you ensure that there will be a problem that continues a sustainable flow of waste, so that they could really validate my complete model? So if we have not this strong partnership, just one shot sometimes, this is not circular economy, let's say, with an economic point of view and a real business development. So that's some things that we need also to support. And standards, guidance through a management system approach also definitely help in having this type of partnership of collaboration agreement between different partners. It also contributes to consumer acceptance because people most of the time trust in standards. And also it brings this level of confidence that will make people more ready to accept the change and sometimes this type of revolutions also. And finally, if the standards definitely, as I said, will support the European Union to meet the ambitions target we have. Of course, standards could not be or should comply with the legislation and regulation Euro level. That's a must, of course. But then it could also accelerate the behavior change and boost, as I said before, this transformation. We said during these days, I understood also, I guess from you, Kari, that maturity between the different stakeholders could take a decade or even more than a decade. I guess cluster as open platform where we have all these different categories of stakeholders are a wonderful booster for awareness raising, for maturity raising, and trying to move from decades, as you said, to only a few years. And standards could also help in bringing some guidance document to these people. Let's engage in square-matic research, as I said, and typically we have some discussion already, and Paula, you was yes, okay, this morning. Again, we have some development of management system for circular economy at global level, ISO level, but very certainly we will need to develop some specific guidance document for the different sectors in Europe, very certainly, to help guiding people from different fields that will have to work together. And that's something we can definitely launch extremely quickly. The cluster are very especially a place where we have the maturity, we have the different partners for playing that at European level first, and then probably boosting and moving that at global level. And that's a way for Europe to lead this circular economy transition in the industrial sector.
Thank you, Bernard. Please have a seat. So, standards as a way of creating a normative framework for everyone to pave the way for innovation investment, as we like to call it. I would just like to take one of the microphones. I think we've discussed a few things. Diana, how can we make sure that we involve the different organizations in the room in this kind of work? What should be the next step tomorrow? Who should they call? What should they do?
So the best way to try to go in that direction is either to join one of the existing platforms at standardization levels, and so that what we call the sector fora or coordination group, or to approach your national standards and bodies by saying, I don't know, here at DG Police we have we set in place a very efficient model based on a lot of pilot studies, demo projects that are ready for scaling up at a larger level. So we would like to propose developing some common guides to help boosting replication or scaling up. So that's the best way to do. And Paula is also the chair of the Bureau Committee for the Circular Economy in Finland. Typically, we have the white people also here to speak to.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Very interesting. I wanted to bother for just 2 more minutes. Someone in the room that I think has a lot to share. Well, Annie, you've had quite a ride over the past years. You've been doing a lot of things inside CEPA to promote the circular agenda. And I wanted to have your perspective on today's discussions before the closing remarks to see a bit what kind of landscape we are drawing now and what have been the missing bits, for example. I know that Raymond, you mentioned academia, for example, as being one of these pieces of the puzzle that we may have not discussed that much. You've made very clear this morning that one of the key successes was education in Finland. Can you please tell us a little bit what your view is on the day? You can definitely come over. I didn't want to bother you too much, but
I want to see all of you.
and you can come to the cocktail as well.
No, you can sit. I can stand. Okay, thank you. It's easier to talk when I see you because it's just sitting in a corner. Thank you. I have a lot of ideas and comments, but maybe one of the main things I want to thank you, all of you, because I think it's really clear that we need to have private and public sector working together. This is really clear. And we need cities and businesses and industrial companies to work together because we can't make this alone. None of us can make this alone. And still I have to say, even that was it you that you said that world is full of money. Yes, it is full of money. but how to focus this money on carbon neutral circular economy solutions and the sustainable future. And I think that also those funding organizations, they have a really great power to make this change. Because I've been working in university, so I have applied money quite a lot, and I know it's really hard work. And I've been working with the industrial companies, with the development projects, and applied money, and working hard to get this funding. And now in Sitra, we had a possibility to also fund sustainable future. It's not our main thing. We are think and do tank, and we are working with the society mostly, but we had a possibility to fund. So every program that we started, we put there quite high criteria how to make this sustainable future really happen. And we really have seen that it was really powerful tool, because so much things has happened, and it's not because of us, but because of all of these organizations that we have been working with. like here, we have heard these great industrial cases. So it's not because of Sitra, but because of our collaborative organizations. We all made this together happen. And of course, education and research is always close to my heart. And we can't make the change if we don't know how to do it. So that's why the education is so a key issue.
Thank you very much. Very clear insights. Thank you, Nani. Well, let's thank our speakers. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite Antti for the closing remarks. We didn't want to bore you to death, but we thought it was important for us to actually set things back into perspective. Antti, you and I met today, but we talked a little bit before. The idea was for me to discover a little bit who you are and what have been the key lessons for you that you built upon this day. Can you please introduce yourself? Share a little bit with us the key striking points of the day.
Yes, my name is Antti Peltomäki, and nowadays I'm working in Helsinki as a head of representation of the European Commission, and since I think the last April I have been trying to represent Commission in this one member state. But before that I was working closely with kind of Joanne and Ulla and Slavik in Brussels almost 13 years on different kind of aspects of, let's say, industrial policy, including clusters, and then I think circular economy, and very well remembering the kind of a very first draft of the kind of a circular economy action plan that was emerging after the withdrawal of the very first one, which was, I think, the end of Barroso II Commission, and I think that we started to, I think that it was John and her team very much of looking the kind of waste legislation, and I think that then looking at how we can avoid landfill and kind of incineration, and I think how to retain the kind of the value of kind of a different kind of material in kind of Europe. And of course it was a kind of a lengthy process, but I guess that it was something that all of a sudden I think that started to be regarded as one of the best examples of how the de-siloed way of different departments of the Commission presented certain kind of a very challenging kind of targets, how to really create this kind of a circular economy. And today, when listening all of you, I think that the challenges are still there, but I think the controversy has gone. So that I think that I can see that I think everybody is thinking in terms of how to achieve this kind of a goal, and I think that it was, like was just mentioned, no one can do that on his or her own, because circularity means that I think that you are having the chain of actors around that I think that are using this kind of material and then trying to make sure that I think the value is retained in society and in the economy. That's why I think that it has been great to listen to all of you, and I think having memories of 5 years ago.
And having had your feet in the Commission, well, then you've seen the evolution. We are talking of a circular economy action plan, we're talking about Green Deal, Just Transition Fund, How do you perceive this evolution? Did we change a lot? You've mentioned we are on the right track, but did you see big change in and where in the end? Is it in the money? Is it in the mindset?
I think that one very good example, which is I think perhaps how the industry sees the kind of climate challenge. And very early days of the kind of emission trading system introduced, and I think that remembering our kind of steel industry and I think the kind of even paper industry and the others saying that no, this is not possible, this is not doable. I think that we have to get kind of a free allocation for this and that. Global competitiveness is gone. And I think today when we are listening to the guys from Outokumpu and Metsä Group, I think that the kind of tone is very different. And I think that of course no one is denying the kind of a challenge, and I think the kind of and when 11 industry associations did their kind of own roadmap, joint roadmap for how to achieve the 2050 goal, I think it was 2 years ago. I think that they were mapping 80 different kind of technologies and then ending up of 2 different kind of main streams where I think that they could really make the next investments. And then I think that they ended up that of course capex and opex are much higher than kind of existing technologies. But if they are doing the next round of the investments, that's what is, I think, lasting until 2050. And if you really want to be carbon neutral, you have to do it right in the first round. And that's why I think that this kind of let's say, partnership, and it was said public-private, and I think that's why I think that like Slavek was speaking about kind of the value chains. This is very much the question, and I think that where the clusters, to my mind, are also coming into the picture, that I think that you really need certain kind of ecosystem or kind of industrial symbiosis type of the approach to do these things. Of course, I think there are certain things that you do your own, but I think then comes the question that I think how this kind of a whole industrial or kind of economic fabric is I think, delivering, not only in terms of kind of avoiding emissions, but also making money.
In our prior discussion, what I liked is also that you kept an eye on the country, you kept an eye on Finland. What do you think about the Finnish trajectory? Because we heard from Joanna, which is this striking truth that we still have a long way to go.
I think, of course, the kind of a circular economy, I think that the overall kind of recycling rate in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, is 12% or something like that. So there's a long way to go overall. I think then discussing with kind of steel, of course, I think we can say that that's kind of the type of material that is recycled almost 100% already today. But then we are having, like we were discussing on plastics, I think that's a kind of a very challenging type of the kind of how to collect, how to sort, how to, I think, that really recycle it in the terms of that you are providing high quality material for reuse or recycling use, and I think then you really need certain kind of whole of the kind of value chain involved, and I think that's what we did 2-3 years ago with the Plastic Alliance, and I think they made kind of pledges that how much I think we were putting certain kind of a challenge of collecting 10 million tons of the kind of plastics and reuse or recycle it. I think collecting it, it's not a problem, but I think that how to get the real demand for the recycled kind of material, it's kind of a challenge. And there, of course, comes the question that in the end of the value chain, we're having the big brands like automotive industry or kind of construction industry or kind of retailers, they have to then buy in this kind of logic that we are discussing today in here.
Indeed. I will try to negotiate a bit with Lapis and European Commission colleagues so that we can meet here in 4 years. But I didn't tell them yet. But if we meet in 4 years, we have the same kind of crowd, hopefully bigger. What should be our questions? What should be, when looking back at the past 4 years, what should we be able to answer?
4 years' time. I think that it's either long or short, I don't know, but I think that in terms of really turning this linear model to kind of a circular one, I think that it takes really time and effort, and I think that that's perhaps the challenge that I think that 4 years is I think that's not wrong at all. I think that we really need certain kind of a new boost for this kind of a development. And of course, I think when I'm looking around, I think this Green Deal is definitely one of the kind of a quite ambitious and comprehensive type of the way of trying to link all different kind of, let's say, policy fields together, including digital, including standardization, including kind of it's low carbon, it's circular, it's digital, it's very many things. And I think that you really now expect what is coming, the kind of more concrete proposals from the Commission in months to come, or let's say until the end of this year. I guess that Roman and Slovak and all are very busy in proposing on many things, and then comes the question, and I think that then that's back to your question about Finland. Of course, Finland, at least the kind of government's kind of ambitions are, I think, we plan neutral by 2035. But of course, I think that the kind of concrete measures are still unknown. I think that's perhaps where I think that we are really needing certain kind of a real kind of common agenda and real commitments.
Thank you very much, Antti. I think this is a very nice wrap-up on the time perspective as well. We're speaking about circular economy. We're not speaking about digital. We don't have development cycles of weeks or a few months. And we are working on something that is much more heavy time-wise as well. I will not bore you with a closing speech. I think you heard enough, and you will make a much smarter synthesis than I will be able to. But I think we tackled the big framework. We went through the strategies, the support actions, quite some interesting business insights, and additional pieces in the puzzle. Meaning that in all of this we realize that there is investment to be made. Private investment is one thing, but there is of course education, regulation, standardization. Quite a big work for all of us, and I would like to set the final word, content-wise, which is the boring one. It's governance. It's how we get together, and I think that's what you were pointing out. If I'm working on waste management, waste recuperation, treatment, I need actually to work with my public authorities, and it will be going in all directions. Thank you very much, Antti. It's a pleasure having this double Finnish and European perspective. As a very symbolic and extremely short closing statement, I would like to bother one last time, Slavik and Joanna, if you could come over, and Tero and Mika, just so that we can see a bit our European-Finnish alliance. And I think you're much more legitimate than myself to close this day with a few words.
Shall I start?
I believe you're the first one.
Okay. Thanks a lot. It has been a long but very useful day. Thank you very much, especially our guests and speakers who has been contributing a lot. I'd like to say to the end about your initiative about coming back here for 4 years time. Yes, the invitation is open, and then we can combine, of course, the visit to new biofactory and to the new smelter in Outokumpu, and I believe that there will be a lot more windmills over the sea, and maybe Tero has also ordered a new icebreaker, second one. I mean, so we got a lot of things to do, and especially the attitude here about making concrete steps towards is important. And that's the main message that we want also to show to the representatives of the Commission, that together with the regional, with the local level, we can do a lot, and we can do very effectively. But thank you very much for this day.
I hope that we will still need this icebreaker in the future. No, I just wanted to thank all of you for coming, for sharing with us your experiences, your ideas. I would like to thank our partners without which this conference would not be possible, the city of Kemi, Citra, Digipolis, and the regional council of Lapland. It's always a pleasure to work with you. We will be leading full of ideas, full of inspiration, which we will certainly use in our policy making. And I would like to see you all in our next milestone conference, Berlin, 9 to 12 November. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think I've occupied the space far too long. But one remark, just to conclude from my end. I think I have been filled with a lot of courage, with your positivity and looking ahead. And I am sure that you are going to be not only the best messengers, but also the best doers in terms of making it happen on the ground. And when I say that, I mean that you will be a beacon of inspiration in practice to those people out there who really want to be part of the solution. And I think you are going to be the interlocutors between them and the solution for more circularity, and at the same time making them grow responsibly. I don't think we are at an age where it is fashionable anymore to talk about growth at the expense of sustainability, at the expense of the limits of our planet. I think we are at a stage where what's really fashionable and trendy is what you will be offering as solutions to those who want to be part of the solution and at the same time respect what I'm sure themselves want to respect as well, and that is the longevity of the planet and the longevity of our economies within the limits of the planet too. So thank you for that contribution, and I'm sure you are going to be, in 4 years' time, inspiring us with many more stories like we heard today. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, cities on my behalf, like I said, we are very honored to have this occasion. One thing I can't be without mentioning, because we had the pleasure to meet both DG people on November, and we were talking about a little bit planning this event. And like we heard, then in Berlin will be a big one coming over. The nice thing is that we have one part of the city called the Little Berlin. So this might have been a trip to Berlin through Kemi. Thank you all, and welcome downstairs later. Thank you all.
Thank you. And please clap your hands for the organizing team that has been doing a lot of work. My partner in crime now. Thank you so much. Christina is the discreet but very powerful engine and leader behind those things. You will tell us about the next step and this cocktail that I've been hearing about all day, right?
Oh yeah, yes. The best part of the day is not now.
Thank you.
Of course, it's your lead. You are allowed to join us as well. Good work. Thank you. Okay, yes, I would like to thank you as well that you all were here with us. And yes, the last but not the less important part of the day is down there. Just the more small cafeteria. We will have some lapis tapas there and different varieties. And then drinks only from Lapis Tornio Brewery. So as you know that we don't have vineyard yet up here, so there won't be any wine served. So, but then there's also those who would like to experience. There is a huge refrigerator door. You can see it. So behind the door there is Experiment 365 ice bar. So one of the drinks will be served there as well, but it's not a cold place, so you have to take your outdoor clothes with you.
-5 degrees.
Yes, yes. So welcome for the Lapis cocktail.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you very much. And see you in the small castle as well, if you drink so.
Thank you.